Hey everyone, Captain here. Coming to you with two messages on the agenda today. It shouldn't surprise anybody because I'm known as a charitable sort that I want to help George. Anyone that saw his most recent video, this so-called skit that he uploaded, knows that he needs a ton of help. Now, I couldn't make it through the entire thing because it was just... it was exemplary for all that was wrong with it. He's posted some terrible skits in the past, and this one is truly in the upper echelon of awful. Some of the things I noticed in the brief time that I watched, first off the bat, is him shuffling the papers. And I should add real quick, if I had more time, I would definitely make some screenshots, have some clips, but I'm far too lazy and too busy to take the time to do that. So he's lucky he's getting this in the first place. But so it starts out with him shuffling papers and pretending like he's this busy man in the office, and he's wearing that shirt that he had on at the library that time, with the golf club when he was prowling around with his diabetes socks. But he's wearing that shirt and then a suit jacket over it, trying to pretend like he has some office job when the guy can barely read or write, let alone speak. The last thing he's going to be doing is jockeying a desk and doing any kind of job in an office. I mean, that's as far-fetched as possible to begin with. But he's shuffling these, not even papers, they're envelopes, pretending they're papers. Which is fine because in comedy, you know, you use whatever you have on hand in certain terms, and you can allow the imagination to make up for some certain things. But in this case, they're just these envelopes that he shuffles around, and he says to himself, I have this yokel coming to see me. Less than a second later, there's a knock on the door, and in walks Watt, and the first thing George says is that he doesn't know who the hell he is. Genius, you just said you had a visitor coming to see you, a yokel nonetheless. A guy with a cowboy hat walks in, and you say you don't know who he is. You can't even keep your own skit straight for a second. Now, the funny thing is that George is playing what he calls a tax preparator. He doesn't say that immediately, but he's playing, I don't know, some, like, an accountant, or I think he thinks he's an IRS agent or something like that. But this is a guy that literally lost his house, and he's playing for laughs someone that's foreclosing on someone else. I mean, how could he think that this is a good idea? I guess maybe he thought it was really funny that day that he was moving out. Like, the height of comedy was him moving his fridge by himself with no one to help him. Maybe that was really funny in his eyes. It sure was in our eyes, so I won't argue with him there. But to think that other people are going to watch this, yeah, that's comedy. The height of humor. Someone losing their house. I guess it is funny when it's George, but... The interesting thing in this is it's one of the first times we've ever seen George make any attempt at editing. Usually it's just poorly lit with the camera set to record, and then they just go until they run out of steam. They may have run out of steam in this case. I didn't make it that far. About a couple minutes was all I could stand to force myself to watch. I did find it amusing that it was accidentally amusing on their part that George calls him a tax preparator. And of course, knowing George, you cue up the preparation H jokes immediately afterward. But then he goes on to offer to check out Watt's anus. I'm not even joking. Calls himself the tax preparator and immediately offers to check out Watt's asshole. It kind of gives you a peek at the shenanigans they must get up to in Watt's apartment. But yeah, then George pulls out what are supposed to be doctor bills from Watt, and first thing it made me think about was how George pretended that he had fan mail and love letters, and it was really his own bills. So it's probably something similar to that. But yeah, that's about where I checked out. He still has never learned that you need to condense these things. If you, there weren't any jokes in there in the first place, but to drag it on for 15 minutes, I can't imagine how the death spiral of that skit, because it was already dead on arrival to begin with. George, you seriously need to work on these things. Don't just throw them together, sit down, press record, and then upload your very first thing. Hone these things. Sharpen them. Try bits, see what works, what doesn't, and your execution will improve. Now, I do have one final thing to mention, and this is of a more serious nature. This is just a mention to those of you in the local area or shortly arriving that Operation Whirlwind has commenced. Repeat, Operation Whirlwind has commenced. The coded message is Archimedes, hot dog, rhubarb, 9er, 09er. Repeat, Archimedes, hot dog, rhubarb, 9er, 09er. That is all. Expect fireworks. This is the captain, signing off.